Good morning. Today we're going to cover page 251 and 252. Students really struggle with this. Uh, I can't understand why it's quite that difficult, but it must be me because students have struggled with it. So spend a lot of time. So this is right off of page 251, 250, less than 2 pages, but you have to think. You can't just read it and, oh, I read it. You've got to think. So in addition to as the problem is written, I made this up. Let's assume there are 900 items in inventory and we take a sample of 100. So I just made that up, but we're going to assume that there's 900 items in inventory and 100 items in our sample. We sampled 1/9 of the inventory. We're going to pretend our sample should have a balance. The book value of those 100 items is $50,000, 1/9 of the population value. Okay. Auditing standard 530. The projected misstatement is the auditor's best estimate of the misstatement in the population. As the projected misstatement approaches or exceeds tolerable misstatement, the more likely that the actual misstatement in the population exceeds tolerable misstatement. Okay, think about what that means. So we take a sample, we have to project our sample results to the population. If there's an error, and if our sample projects an error, then if that projected error approaches tolerable misstatement, then it becomes more likely that the actual misstatement in the population exceeds tolerable misstatement. We're saying when is approaching too close. Okay, so that's what we have to figure out here. Okay, so in the example, the book balance is 450,000. They tell us tolerable error is 36,000. I say tolerable error, tolerable misstatement, same thing. Performance materiality, they're all, for our purposes, the same thing. There's a $15,750 allowance for sampling risk. That's how they define too close. So our maximum projected error is 20,250. An error of 20,250 is too close. Okay. And we're going to add in a critical value. So we just subtract 20,250 from the book value, and we'll say 429,750 is our critical value. Okay. If the projected error is 20,250 or greater, then it's too close to tolerable error, and there's too much possibility, risk that the actual error might exceed 36,000. The same thing, only looking at a tiny bit difference. Notice the math is the same. We can take our book balance of 450, subtract tolerable error of 36, and add back the allowance for sampling risk. We get the same 429,750. So spend a few minutes thinking about that this gets to the same critical value of 429,750. It just looks a little different. Okay. Now, here's our book value, 450,000. With statistics, we always take, or sampling, we always take averages. So since there's 900, the average book value is 500. Now, we're going to subtract the projected error, and we get our 429,750. Okay. Or we can subtract tolerable misstatement and add back the allowance. We get the same 429,750. it's saying is, oh, if our sample results are to the left of this critical value, then it's too close to tolerable error, tolerable misstatement. Okay. Now, since we're doing sampling, we take averages, and instead we can do 500, 477.5, and 460. If our sample mean is less than 477.50, that's just a different way of saying, oh, our projected error is too big. So hopefully you can see these two lines are the same thing. One's dealing with the absolute book value of the inventory. The other deals with the average. Okay, so right here we have the same information. The book value is 450, tolerable, subtract tolerable, or take, I'm sorry, book value is 450. Then I've got my tolerable misstatement, less my sampling risk. My maximum projected error is 20,250. And so my critical value would be 429,750. So this is 36,000 minus 15,750 gives me 20,250. Okay. I subtract 20,250 from 450 and I get 429.50. Got that? The same thing on averages. Since I'm sampling, I can do averages. Now, my sample result in this case was 46,500. Now, the book tells me a little bit different. It said that the sample had a book value of 50,000 and an error of 3,500. 50,000 minus 3,500 gives me 46,500. Okay. I project that. How do I project that? Well, my sample was 1/9 of the population. So I can project that by multiplying by 900 divided by 100. When I multiply by 9, I get 418,500. My projected error, 450 minus 418,500, is 31.5. Oh, that's greater than my maximum projected error. Okay. I do not have evidence that the sample inventory is not materially overstated. Now, I can do the same thing with averages, and my average error is $35. If I wanted to do averages, it'd be $22.50. So either way, I can take my projected error or my average error and compare it to what? Oh, the maximum projected error is 20,250. The maximum average error, 2250. So I can't accept, I don't have any, this does not provide evidence that inventory is not materially overstated. Similarly, I can compare it to the critical value. Okay, so the critical value is 429,750. If my projected balance was greater than 429,750, I'd be happy. I'm not happy. It's less than. The projected error in this case is too close to tolerable misstatement. Or we can say it, the projected error is too far below the book value. That's the same thing. Make sure you figure that out. That's the same thing. Okay, so here we are, and what we're saying here is if my projected value is greater than 429,750, I'm happy. If my sample mean is greater than 477.50, I'm happy. It's the same thing. If my sample results, my projected balance is less than 429,750, but greater than 414, I'm cautious. I probably need more evidence. In this case, the sample mean was 465. That's greater than 460, but less than my critical value. I need more evidence. Now notice, this doesn't prove that inventory is materially overstated. The sample results indicate that it's greater than 460. That doesn't indicate it's materially overstated. Okay. So my projected balance is greater than 414, so I can't say, oh, inventory is materially overstated. But I'm not comfortable. The projected error is too close to tolerable misstatement. I can't be comfortable. I need more evidence. Now, what we've got here is, we all remember from statistics, there's a distribution. Let's pretend that the true value of the population, the unknown value, true value is 414,000. The book value is 450,000, but what if the true value was 414,000? Okay, that'd be an average of 460. There'd be a distribution around there. Would it be possible to get a sample with a mean of 465 if the true value were 460? Yes. Is the probability of getting that sample too high? Yes. Okay. Now, let's go back. Let's make up three numbers. So the yellow band is what we've just had. And what the book would say was, I'm going to take my projected error plus the allowance. They're doing the same thing we just did. They're just doing it a different way. The projected error plus the allowance is 47,500. That exceeds 36,000. Okay. The projected error is too close to tolerable misstatement. What if the projected balance, what if our sample result was average was 480, projected balance of 432, then we'd have a projected error of 18,000. 450 minus 432 would be 18, plus my allowance, 30. Oh, that's less than 36. I'm happy. Okay. What if my projected or my sample result was 495? I multiply that by 900, and my projected balance would be 445,500. 450 minus 445 gives me a projected error of 4,500 plus the allowance 20,250. That's less than 36,000. I'm happy. Okay, so here they are on our little graph. Okay, this was the example in the book. Oh, that's too close to tolerable misstatement. Okay, I'm not happy. Oh, for sample mean of 480, yeah, that's in the I'm happy. That's close enough to the book value. Now, what I'd like you to think about is, this is how easy it is if you get the concept down. The closer I am to the book value, the happier I am. The less the probability that the true value is less than 414,000. Okay. As I move further from the book value, the probability that the true value is less than 414 increases. As I move further to the left, the probability that the true value is less than 414 increases. So the further my sample result gets from the book value, the higher the probability that that inventory is materially misstated.